All right, welcome to another special and great day of our project management professional class. Like I said, this project management professional class is one of its kind. We're going to be understanding the sixth edition in full, and also we'll move into the seventh edition in full, and we would be trained on Primavera so we can understand project scheduling. So, where are we right now? We are at project integration management, like the word implies, integrate. Every project would have bits and parts of different knowledge areas coming together. But we need understanding of their trade-offs, understanding of their tie-in. And this is what this knowledge area is going to be doing for us. Project integration management. Talking about project, this enables us to be able to put together all the characteristics that could enable us succeed on our project. It comes in like a unification, like a consolidation. Okay, you may say it's an articulation and integration of all the actions that are crucial to the project completion. And for us to be successful, we need to understand project integration management, what is expected of us as the project managers, what the stakeholders would want us to do, and what is needed for us to ensure that we are managing the cost, we are understanding the activities that are required, even identifying the risk, and everything must be unified. Must be unified because the decision we would make in one area would influence something in somewhere. You may want to save time by thinking about that. You may be losing money. You may want to save time by thinking about that. You could be exposed to certain risk. So, what about the quality? The quality too may be jeopardized. So, we want to ensure that we can put our project in perspective from beginning, and every decision that we make must be considered on every area, not from a single spectrum. So, project integration management entails making choices about resources, talking about resource allocation, and making trade-offs, like I said, among the competing objectives. There are different kinds of objectives, though these objectives may have their varying level of importance, but every single aspect of them would influence the other. So we want to ensure that we record success in all the objectives because the acceptance criteria of the project must be tied to these objectives. So now we'll be looking at project from beginning to end. For us to carry out project integration management, there are 7 sub-processes we must be very much conversant of. The first one, it is the very first thing we do on project, which is for us to develop project charter. Project charter, as the word may imply, project charter. Having developed the project charter, the next thing is for us to develop the project management plan. The project charter serves as an input to want to develop the project management plan. Having gotten the project management plan, we move on to the next phase, like I said, direct and manage the project work. Once the project work is being directed and managed, we would be required to manage the project knowledge. Knowledges are gotten while we embark on project. Then we are required to monitor and control the project. Number 6, we perform integrated change control. Like I told us yesterday, changes are always competing, trying to want to move our project to certain realities. And but whereas we have our project management plan, which is the agreed upon plan that the project stakeholders would want us to do things within. And so we must ensure that these changes are not influencing us negatively, but rather they are influencing us positively only towards our desired objectives. And at the end, we close the project, or we close the project phase. So what is to develop the project charter? That is the process of developing a document that formally authorizes a project or a phase. That document that formally authorizes the project is what is called the project charter. And this is one of the initial requirements for every project to be carried out. The project charter must be created. It doesn't matter what name they may give it, but the professional name is the project charter. And the project charter has some knowledge about the whole project, the preliminary schedule, the preliminary budget is being identified and placed there. Some kind of ambiguous risk are identified there. The scope also is there. And who is the project manager is stated there. The project owners too are stated there. They're going to be signing off with the project manager to say, we give you the right to embark on expending the project funds. And this project manager will now carry this 1 to 3 page document into the next process called develop the project management plan. For the project manager to now start developing the project management plan, he must have understanding of what the project management plan is all about. So in this process, the project manager would ensure that he is making documentation of all the necessary actions. He must ensure that he's defining and making preparations, coming up what is required for integration, and how the project would be coordinated from start to finish. So this is develop project management plan. So this project management plan serves as the guide. Every decisions must fall in line. All agreements could have been speculated in the project management plan. It's a guide. Now that we have the project management plan as the output of the develop project management plan phase, we move on to the next phase called the direct and manage project work. Now you have a plan. You know what you want to do. So you can now start taking steps, taking actions. So in the direct and manage project work, what do? You perform. You perform the work that has been defined in the project management plan. And these are the work needed for you to realize the project objectives. You would agree with me that you cannot embark on the project without learning something new. We want you as project management professionals to organize those knowledges. Ensure that those knowledges are well documented. They are well archived. You keep them in a place where each time you want to embark on a new project, you have something to look upon. So you're not going to start creating certain things from scratch. These knowledges can serve as templates. They can serve as the basis for decision making. They can serve as basis for planning. So you must create your database where you archive all these new knowledges. When you have that done, whenever we embark on project, like I said, we ensure that we keep changes away from coming into our project. So we must monitor and control the project work. The project work must go in line. So we want to track. We want to ensure that we review. We want to ensure that we are regulating our progress to meet the performance objectives that have been defined in the project management plan. Then another aspect is the perform integrated change control. This is a standardized routine on every project. And there is a body called the Change Control Board that is in charge of it, which means for every change to be incorporated into our project, be it lucrative or whatever, we must make documentations. Like we are coming up with a business case and we send it to this change control board to review. So we have observed that things are going in this direction. We like to stop it. Or we have observed that if we go in this direction, we would be able to realize this and this amount. It will save us time and also give us good quality. And at the end of the day, our product will be the best in the market. We come up with a change request. Then we send it to the change control board. They would sit down and see how that change could be integrated or be rejected. We don't do what is not in the project management plan. We ensure that all that we do are approved by the change control board. Some companies would call it management for change. That was what we call it. While I was with Alibotin, we call it management for change. Others may have their own names, but this is their responsibilities, approving and rejecting change requests. So number 7 is to close the project or phase. This is the process of finalizing all activities across all of the project management processes. This is where we formally complete the phase, we formally complete the project. When we say we are done with the phase, it's not like we are done, everybody will start walking out of the territory. No, we formally close those contracts if there are contracts. We formally close those agreements and ensure that they are met. We have to look at the acceptance criteria to ensure that the project or the phase are accepted. In closing, we archive the lessons learned. We gather the lessons learned, we come up with a checklist, gather the lessons learned, and we archive them for future purposes. So this is just the summary of what we want to do today. And this is the summary of project management. So I want us to now go in now to look at it, how we would be able to carry out the first activities, to carry out the first process that is needed of us as project management professionals, which is the develop project charter. This time around, we will look at it in detail, not as we did in summary. Just to remind ourselves, project charter, like I said, is the process of developing documents that formally authorizes a project or a phase and documenting initial requirements that satisfy the stakeholders' needs and expectations. It establishes a relationship between the performing organization and the requesting organization. When we say performing organization, that is the organization that has been contracted by the requesting organization. The requesting organization may be the project owners. The performing organization may be the organization that you and I works. That is the project management office. You see? So the project charter stands in as a relationship. So the approved project charter formally initiates the project. It's just like a bell. Once it's been signed, the project manager now can now say, I can embark on the project. I have all authority.
But they speak in terms of projects.
I have all authority. I have all authority to expend project funds because that had been given to him. All authorities are speculated therein. So nobody would say no to him, but this would be according to the organizational structure, like I said. In a matrix organization, remember the power of the project manager is stronger when it is a strong matrix. In a functional organization, the project manager's power is limited, when compared to that of the functional manager. And sometimes the project manager's power is like that of the functional manager in a weak matrix. So the project charter gives that authorization. So the project initiator or the sponsor are now signed their responsibility to sponsor the project, to fund the project. Sometimes the project owners, which the project sponsors, they create the project charter themselves and pass it on to the project manager to go through and sign. Sometimes they delegate the duty to the project manager. It depends on what phase you have been assigned. But most times, except you are like the senior project manager, you may not even see the formation of a project charter. So, we have simplified project management. Now you may ask me, okay, I have understanding of what the project charter is. Every description, everything about the project is on it, and it's between 1 to 2 pages, and it gives authority to the project manager, and this cost is being defined in an ambiguous way because this phase is at the initiating phase. But what do we need now to create this project charter? And that's why I say with this strategy that I'm going to be deploying, we can be on any project. It doesn't matter. We can lead group of professors and we'll be successful. We can even lead group of footballers with these methodologies that I'll be deploying. You see, all you need to do is just to pay attention, take notes, go over your notes, get yourself ready, start confronting things and see how you can manage them. Okay, what do we need? For me to develop the project charter, what do I need? What I need are things we call the inputs. You may want to re-echo it, input. These are things we put together to make project charter, to develop project charter input. And then we need some tools to wiggle. And we need some techniques to be able to wiggle these inputs and turn them to something else. And these are the outputs. We need an input. We need some tools to transform this input to an output. Remember, develop project charter is the process. So what are the inputs for you? Now you have been contracted. At the end of today, you may tell anybody that they should pay you, you can take care of, put together a project charter for them. It's not a far-fetched dream. What are the things needed? You need every existing business document. Maybe the sponsors are more than one. The agreement they could have had, you have to put, if they have bought a particular thing before, if they have paid anybody, you need all those documents. That's the business document. If an agreement exists between 2 of them or 3 or 4, 5 of them, if it's a consortium, you need those agreements. You state those agreements because the rights, the terms and references could be upon those agreements. And then also, you need the enterprise environmental factors, which are taught us, and you need the organizational process assets. So these four things are required as an input for you to come up with your project charter. But these things are not going to turn themselves, they're not going to cook themselves, they're not going to transform themselves. What are the tools and techniques needed? You need expert judgment. That is to say that you may be consulting people that could have been in that territory, in that domain, managing business, running business, to give you their perspective. That is the expert judgment. And this expert judgment could be coming from you. And you gather all these data, gather them. And another thing that is most needed is the interpersonal team skill, because you're going to be in charge of lots of people. How do you get the best out of team without you having some skills or technique about that? So you need to organize people together to give their best. That is part of the tool needed. Then there would be meetings every now and then. And once you have this done, putting all these inputs, defining them, consolidating them, you will come up with two things. The first one is the project charter, which is your output. Oh, now you have the 1 to 3 page document. If you were the one contracted to get that done, you have your project charter. Easy, right? Very, very easy. Another output is the assumption log. Lots of assumptions will be made in the beginning of a project. Lots and lots of assumptions. But I want to start explaining what these things are. Business document. What kind of business document are we talking about? When we say agreement, what do we mean? I'm going to be breaking it down to the smallest level. So at this junction, we're going to hear from us, hear from somebody. Let's get the feedback from somebody. If you have been hearing me, I think I will need somebody to do not type. If you cannot speak, no problems. But if you can speak, kindly unmute and let me know if you were hearing me. We have just started project management.
I can hear you, sir.
Beautiful. Did you get anything about the project charter?
Yes, I've been listening since.
What can you remember? Can you give me one single thing you can remember before I move on?
Yes, sir. You were talking about the business charter earlier.
I didn't say business charter. I said project charter. So what did you hear about the project charter? A friend can help. The best time to understand is now.
You were saying that we have different steps about the beginning development of a project, whereby we have to start with develop project charter, and the second one is develop project management plan. Also, the next stage is direct and manage project work. While the next one is manage project knowledge, and we have to monitor and control project work. Then we perform and integrate change control. Then we have to close the project or the phase. Those are the steps. Then you now went on to talk about how to develop project charter. You explained about that. Then you are now breaking it down. That's the next one we are in now.
Ridwan, that was you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. It shows that you are listening. It shows that you're listening. Okay, we have to move forward. That's a good one from you. So, these knowledge areas are very big, but we'll see how far we can go. We are supposed to conclude on this. So, the business document. So, these are documents that are needed or maybe that have been consummated for the purposes of the existence of the business need. One is the business case, which is the king document, the business case. The business case is that business document that speculates the reason why they are embarking on the project, like I said. And another one now is the agreement. When parties come together, they define their intentions. They define what they would be getting and what they will be putting in. And they come up with terms and conditions. So there must be an agreement. So you want to see that. You want to understand if there are existing contracts or memorandum of understanding. Are there letters of agreement? Because you don't want to start putting a project charter together void of the ownership of stakes. Yesterday I told us about enterprise environmental factors. If you forget, always localize. Like the word enterprise, it's like an organization, enterprise, a company. Environmental factors, these are factors around, surrounding the company. That is just how you can remember that word, enterprise environmental factor. I localize most times to pass my exams. So the enterprise environmental factors that can influence the develop project charter process are the governmental or industry standards. There are standards in every industry. So you now know that whatever thing that you will do would not be far away from the standards. You must be conversant. This may be civil engineering codes, this may be marine codes, these may be different kinds of codes, pharmaceutical codes. It depends on what area that you are embarking on. So these are the governments or the industrial standard. These are requirements, how they want you to do business in the industry. Then the organization infrastructure. This is certain times in businesses, what is required to get things done could have not been well developed. Everything could just be natural. Everything would just be organic at a time. So this is like the setting up of the industry. How doing business can be accelerated by these infrastructures. Then we have the marketplace conditions. These are enterprise environmental factor, marketplace conditions. Certain times the marketplace conditions may not allow a single investor to come in and position. It could be that before you get in, you must be in a contractual relationship with someone that is from that territory. You must have a Nigerian or maybe a Ghanaian in your board, or before you buy, you can't just walk into the market to buy. You must register with the association, and the association would buy for you. No, different kinds of regulations that are there. Just like in the oil and gas industry, you can't just wake up today and say you want to start drilling, right? These are marketplace conditions. You can't just wake up today and say you want to start selling fuel. Because if you do, the government may tag you illegal. The government may tag you illegal. And you don't want that. So all these are conditions you must be conversant with while you put together your project charter. So the organizational process asset, I'm making this internal now, the organizational process asset, like you, the performing organization. What are the things, infrastructure that you have, the templates you have, the policies and the procedures, your historical information, your lessons learned, your knowledge database that can aid you in doing business in this area. We have templates for everything we do. We don't want you to now start creating things from scratch. Another input is the expert judgment. No, that is a tool and technique. That's a tool and technique. The expert judgment is actually used to assess the inputs. Now, all the things which you have gathered, the data which you have gathered, you need the perspective of professionals to analyze them. That's how we call it, expert judgment. So when we analyze them, we now know what is friendly, what is supportive, what is not friendly, so we would know how to define our project. Though at the level of the project charter, it's ambiguous. So you may be in relationship with some consultant. You could be talking to some industry experts. You could be talking to some of the stakeholders. There are certain stakeholders that could have had some experiences in that area. So then you gather all these informations, and that is why data gathering comes in. You gather this information. And three things you're going to be doing when we gather information, or how you gather them. One is to brainstorm. Brainstorming means you're identifying a list of ideas in a short period of time. You're putting together ideas to analyze. Then another one is called the focus groups. You bring together stakeholders and subject matter experts to learn about the perceived project risk, because they could have done it in time past. So you want to talk to them to tell you their perspective and why you write them down, and they will be able to define the success criteria for you. So you mustn't be someone who had been in that area for you to manage any project, you see, because there is a place for you to hire civil engineer. If it is a fashion project, you may hire some tailors, and so on and so forth. So you know how to put them together. With all these knowledges, you know how to create a focus group of them. And number three is the interview. Under the data gathering, you interview people and you obtain information on high level requirements. From then on, you can make up the assumption and identify the constraints and have knowledge of how the approval criteria would be. What is approval criteria? What is success criteria? These are list of items that the owners could have said, if the project meets this, that, and this, we will accept it. This may be 20, 50, 30, 200 things. So at the end of the project, they come with the checklist and they now start ticking them. Yeah. Is the color blue? Yes. Can the door turn to the left? Yeah. What's the size of the room? 12 square foot. Beautiful. They keep ticking it. Okay. Is he appealing? Yes. These are things that could be on the checklist of the success or approval criteria. Then we have the interpersonal and team skills. This is how you manage. You put together the project charter. As you're leading people, there could be conflict between people. How do you manage conflict? There are stakeholders that could be very, very antagonistic. Some may be supportive. So you need to ensure that those that are aggressive, pessimistic, are not sabotaging the success of the project. There would be differences. A particular stakeholder may need the product to have a kind of color, whereas another stakeholder could prefer a different color. So you must ensure that you unify them together to agree on a particular color by showing them the benefits of that color. And your own color may be totally different from what they want, but you should be able to sell them the targeted benefits for having the color you desire. So you manage conflict. And then, as long as you're dealing with people, you must have facilitation skills. That's the ability to effectively guide a group to a successful decision making. And then also, meeting management technique is very important. If you don't know how to manage your meeting, people will come and be talking, and all of a sudden you will achieve less. So all these are skills that are needed of you. So that's why they are categorized under the tools and techniques. And then your meeting management. So once you have the input being analyzed and put together with these tools and techniques, you come up with two outputs. The project charter, the so-called project charter, becomes your output, and then the assumption log becomes your second output. So on the project charter, what are we going to see on this project charter? We want to see the purpose of the justification. Remember, that came from your business case, right? We want to see the project proposal, the project justification. We want to see the measurable project objectives and related success criteria. We want to see high-level requirements. You have to enlist them. We want to see the high-level project description. You describe it ambiguously. We want to see the high-level risk. At least you have to state them. But these may not be things that are broken down to the smallest detail, but at least you should be able to describe them. So on the project charter, the summary budget will be there. The summary timeline will be there, that this project will last for 7 months, 8 months, 9, 10 months. We want to see that. The project approval requirement. We want to see the project manager that should be assigned and the project manager's responsibility. We also want to see his authority level. We want to see his name on your project charter. And also the name of the sponsor. It's easy. You have your project charter done. Then the assumption log. Assumption log, this is log. When we say log is just like a recordings, a list of all assumptions and constraints throughout the project life cycle, things that we can speculate would happen. Assumptions, they have not been tested. They have not been tested. So out of the 7, we have only concluded 1, and we are supposed to go 7 today. I wonder why our pace is slow today. Maybe because we should be understanding that, okay, now you have your project charter as your created newborn baby. That project charter becomes an input. Everything you would do from now on must be by developing those things you have on your project charter to make them clearer and better. So this takes us to develop project management plan. The develop project management plan is the process of documenting the actions necessary to define, the actions necessary to prepare, integrate, and coordinate all subsidiary plans. The project management plan defines how the project is executed, monitored and controlled and closed. The project management plan, the content of the project management plan would vary depending on the application area. So you can take a look at the list. The very first input becomes our project charter. So which means everything we will do must start from there. Then we have the output from other processes. Then the enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets are also featuring here. We still would have to be in touch because we would use template. We must be conversant with the policies and procedures. We still would understand the industry and the government standard as we plan the project in detail. So that's why we need these ones as also an input here. And most of the tools needed are the tools we used in the develop project charter phase, which is the expert judgment, data gathering, interpersonal and team skills and meetings. And at the end of the day, our project management plan becomes our output. So we now have the document called the project management plan created. When we say output from other processes, we are talking about all other processes that would be integrated, like the risk management, the quality management, the quality processes, the procurement aspect, all of those subsidiary plans. When we put them together, they form the project management plan. So in this area, the enterprise environmental factors that we want to be conversant with are the government and industry standard, like I said, the project management information system. I'm talking about automated tools such as the scheduling softwares, the Primavera, the MS project, the Jira, and that we use to manage projects. The configuration management system, because we are planning the project, so we need any software that can aid us. And also we have to be able to understand the organizational structure. What are the existing facilities and capital equipment? The personnel administration. Yeah, then the organizational process asset. The organizational process asset is one unique one also that will enable you to conduct project very well. Those are your templates you have in the organization, the guidelines and the criteria for tailoring projects. How do you close project? What are the guidelines you have come up with? How do you manage changes in your project? These are policies that your company has put together. That's why we call them organizational process assets. These assets, these processes are like assets to them because it enables them to get good results. Then we have the expert judgment. I'm not going to be talking about that because I've said that before. These experts will join you to plan the project management plan. They come up with the technical and the management detailing knowledge to define the level of the configuration management. When we say configuration, we are talking about everything that houses changes on the project. Then you still would be gathering data. You might be in touch with some stakeholders and at the same time with some market owners, market leaders to understand what is playing out in the market. So our project management plan becomes our output. Now, when we say project management plan, what are those plans that are on the project management plan? The life cycle of the project that is being selected, and the selected processes that we would use, because we may not use all processes for all kinds of projects. This project management plan will have knowledges of the do's and the don'ts. If we have to carry out implementation, what is the level of implementation of each selected processes? The result of the tailoring by the project management team. How the selected processes will be used to manage the specific project, including the dependencies and the interactions among those processes. Processes must interact because when one is retiring, another one is succeeding. How the work will be executed and accomplished must be in the project management plan. Who will do what? How changes will be managed? How changes will be monitored and controlled? Yeah, and the number of reviews and the detail of reviews that would be carried out. So the project management plan can either be a summary plan at a level or a detailed one, but ensure that every aspect has its own subsidiary plans. When you accumulate all the subsidiary plans together, you have the project management plan. Yeah. So we have the project baselines, which includes the schedule baseline. What do we mean by the schedule baseline? Schedule is the timeline which we have drawn for every single activities and how they overlap. The activity duration, their start to finish, their starting time, their finishing times, the leads and the lags associated with them. So the very baseline, that is the accepted and approved schedule for the project. So these baselines are part of the project management plan. The cost performance baseline, that is the S curve. Over time, how we intend to spend money. When you draw your S curve, when you put cost over time, you will see that it's an S curve. Then your scope baseline is the specific description that talks about the work and only the work required to complete the project. That is your scope baseline. So we have lots of subsidiary plans like the scope management plan, the requirement management plan, the risk management plan, the quality management plan, the procurement management plan. You just name them. All these are subsidiary plans that are under the project management plan, the stakeholders management plan. So now that you have your project management plan as your output, what do? It's time to go to work. We have been in the drawing room, in the drawing board planning, ruling, dotting, crossing, but right now we got to go to work. So this takes us to direct and manage project work. So direct and manage project work is the process of performing the work defined in the project management plan to achieve the project objectives. Now you now know what to do. So you want to achieve the project objectives. So these activities that you will be choreographing includes perform the activities to accomplish the project requirement. You create the project deliverables. Remember, you'll be creating deliverables. You want to build a house, you mold cement. You mold blocks rather. That's a block is a deliverable. Maybe you go to market, you buy some wood. The wood is a deliverable. You have to go into contract. The contract is a deliverable. And you staff. When you staff and you find out that some of your personnel are not learning, they are not working very well, you may want to train them while you're doing the work. The other time we were talking about the responsibility of the project manager, and we also talked about the servant master leadership style also. Mentorship is part of how we do project management work. We ensure that knowledges gravitate from the most experienced to the least experienced. You obtain, you manage, and you use resources including materials, you use tools, you use equipment and facilities while you are getting the job done. And you will communicate. So you must adopt a communication channel. When we get to project communication management plan, I'll show you how to calculate the communication channels that will be opened for according to the number of stakeholders that you have on your project. So while the job is ongoing, that you're getting the job done, you will see changes will be coming in, you'll be issuing change requests. At the same time, they will be analyzing change requests, they will be approving or disapproving change requests, and so on and so forth. And all this will be done in line with the scope that is found in the project management plan. Here now you are expected to manage the risk and implement the risk response activities. And remember, the risk management plan is a subsidiary plan in your project management plan. So that which is said about risk must be done while the job is ongoing. So you collect and document your lessons learned also as the job is ongoing, as you are directing and managing the project work. So you get all this done with your project management team by directing the performance according to the planned activities. So when we direct and manage the project work, there are level of requirements that must be implemented. One of it is about how changes are approved and rejected. So these three things you must be conversant with. Corrective action, which means you want to raise a change request. The change request may either be a corrective action, that's which you want to send to the change control board. It could be, allow me to correct this thing. That is corrective action. That is documented direction for executing the project work to bring expected future performance of the project work in line with the project management plan. That is corrective action. Then another one is preventive action. That's you're generating a document to send to them. Will allow you carry out some measures that a looming challenge can be averted. Then defect repair. Defect repair. We're going to make some repairs. The formally documented identification of defect in a project component with a recommendation to either repair the defect or completely replace the component. So all these are different kinds of change requests that you can raise. But remember, the board will have to sit down and analyze and look for the why. They must understand the justification before they say, wow, let's approve it. Yeah. So this brought us to where for us to see the input and the output, right? So for us to direct and manage project work, we need the project management plan now as our input, you see. We need those project documents also and all the approved changes. We want to see them because when we see the approved changes, it's the approved changes that we can work on. If they are not approved, we cannot work on them. Then at the end of the day, we will create deliverables. We will be able to generate some data. And then there would be issue log. Issues are like risk, but that has not taken place. So the log is to have them written down, which is our output. We have the change request as an output. You see, change request is also an output. You have gone to monitor what as they're carrying out the job. Could be that you have to request changes. Then the project management plan will be updated for every single change. What would happen? You have to go back to incorporate it into the project management plan. Therefore, the project management plan becomes what? Updated. You are doing project management job and your job is easier because you have this methodology that I'm giving you. For every now and then, you know what to do. And you are moving your team forward and your team is just succeeding. It may be a group of civil engineers, it doesn't matter. You know how to put them on parade and move them towards the desired destination. So these are things that you do. Like I have explained, all these things here have been explained by me. Talked about the enterprise environmental factors, we've talked about the approved change request and so forth. What have we not spoken about? We've talked about the organizational process asset, okay, standard and guidelines and work instructions, issue and defect management procedures, and the deliverables. Like I said, the deliverables is an approved, a deliverable is a created product that is not in its final, that may be in its final or something that is needed by another party to carry out their own. For instance, somebody is waiting for you to create a list so they can take to market. The list is a deliverable. That list becomes an input. That deliverable becomes an input to what that person wants to do. For to you, it could be an output. Then when we say work performance data, what is work performance data? As we are carrying out the job, we could be checking the time. Maybe we have speculated that this activity would last for 4 hours. How many hours it is? Did we finish it within that time? If it is yes, if we finished it by 4 hours, which means it's the data now is 4 hours. If it is by 3 hours, yeah, we write it down. So that is the work performance data. So information from the project activities is routinely collected as the project progresses. This information can be related to various performance results, including, but are not limited to, let's take a look at them, are not limited to deliverable status, scheduled progress, or cost incurred. So you want to, these are data. Are we spending less, spending more? For a team that, an activity that could have cost $40,000, did we achieve it with $40,000? No, we did not. So how much And you write that down. So with that, that becomes the basis for future analysis. If we have to do more, because we already either losing money here or saving money, we now know what to do in the future. So all this and that. So the aspect of the project management plan that would be updated is that aspect that the change is talking about. It could be that the requirement area, it could be that we run out of time and now we are now have now learned how to manage our time better. So we are coming up with a new policy so that we are going to update that aspect of the project management plan. It could be that a risk that we thought could bring the project down had been captured and we did not lose money. So we want to go back to the risk management plan in the project management plan to say that that risk has been taken care of and we remove it therein. So all these are things that we can be talking about therein. Yeah. So this brings us to manage project knowledge. Like I said, we have to use existing knowledge to create new knowledge to achieve our project objectives today and tomorrow. So how do we ensure that we are getting better? We are learning, we are making differences. Is by ensuring that there is continuous improvement. We can do things better. So we need the project management plan to analyze as our input. We look at all those documents to see if what we have known can help us to replan certain areas. If the cost in certain areas is ambiguous, we can cut them down because we now have a better way of getting certain things done. We go back to the deliverables. If we see the way we have packaged certain things are too expensive, we have to look for a repackaging, a cheaper packaging, or what aspect of the enterprise environmental factor that we did not even analyze well now that is giving us problems that we now can recognize. So we want anytime we want to start such project, we remember to do that. You see, lessons learned. Oh, our organizational process asset. Our templates do not used to incorporate this and that, but now we have a more robust template. And now, in fact, we have a template, different kinds of template for different kinds of work because we have created new ones. So we now have learned something new. So these are things that we do. So the output becomes our lessons learned register. There must be a lessons learned register for every project. What have you learned? You must be writing it down. You tell your team members on the oil and gas industry, that's what we do. We have different names for it. We carry a jotter, like a tag, around our pocket with a pen. They call it tax card. Some say tax card. At the close of business, what have you learned? You must submit like 4. You must submit like 4 every day. 2 is not enough. But on your own project, you don't call for any number. It's according to what is agreed upon, what is in the project management plan. But that would be like a minimum. So we have the project team assignment. Now you now have responsibility for each project team members. Since you now know who can do what better than who. Your resource breakdown structure will include the information on the composition of the team and may help understand what knowledge is available as a group and what knowledge is missing. When you break the resources down. Could be human resources. You break them down. You find out that, oh, I think we need one mechanic here, a senior mechanic that can help lead these people. Because you have been able to break it down to know, okay, 4 men to one supervisor, 4 men to one supervisor, and now 3 men are on a project, on an aspect, but there's no supervisor. So now you can identify. So all these are things that you will learn as you embark on your project. Most of all these things are things you mustn't carry in your head. It's just to remember that they exist. Life is open book. Life is open book, but it's good you have a kind of grasp on them. Yeah. So let's move on to the next knowledge area. Coming. Did I miss anyone? No. Everything you see, I've explained it one way or the other. We have to finish this knowledge area before we call it a day. This is what we could have done yesterday, but yesterday I told us that we are a little bit slow. I always want Saturday to be more, Sunday to be less, because for those in Nigeria, the time is already late. So I'm gonna just do a summary. I'll speak in the chatter, in the table, and so we can round up from now to the next 12 minutes. I know some of you could have been, those in Africa will be preparing for work tomorrow already. Let's get in. Okay, so monitor and control the project work. You have to monitor, you have to control your work, or else unwanted changes will come in. Monitor and control project work is the process of tracking, the process of reviewing and regulating the progress to meet the performance objectives defined in the project management plan. Monitoring is an aspect of project management performed throughout the project, you see. It is performed throughout the project. And this has to do with you collecting knowledge. This has to do with you measuring data. This has to do with you distributing informations and assessing trends to come up with informed decision making. So you need the project management plan. Without the project management plan, you will not know how close or how far things have been. You need all the project documents as your input. You need the work performance information. Like I said, you need the work performance information. If you don't know how well things are going or how bad they are going, how would you be able to tell of what we ought to do? So look at the agreement, the enterprise environmental factors, and the organizational process asset. And here now, what would you people be doing? You'll be analyzing situations and be coming up with decisions. Should we stop it now? Should we allow it a little? Should we escalate it to senior management? In fact, should we remove this man here and put him there? Should we? You're making a decision, timely decisions. And some of these decisions will be decisions that will save you money and reputation. So at the end, your output becomes your work performance report. Because when you have gone into monitor, there must be something to write home about. What is that? That is your work performance report. And this your work performance report is what you are sending to the senior management. That's what you're sending to the stakeholders. Then, in a place where they are not meeting up, you raise change requests. You see, that's your output. You raise change requests. Another one is the project management plan updates. You update the project management plan because you have new knowledge, because you see new things have been approved or new things have been stopped. Old things have been stopped. That aspect of it that has been stopped should be mentioned so people would know that they don't do that again. Then the project documents are also updated. Whenever you get something done, you create new document. So the new document goes into the portfolio of old documents. So that's why we say the project document update. Sometimes you come up with Rev 1, Rev 2, Rev 3 to show that certain knowledges have been updated. Yeah. So when we say work performance report, it carries the current status of the project, maybe some forecast of how well things can get if we continue like this, or how bad they would be if we continue not changing. Okay, so that's that. And this brings us to perform integrated change control. This is all about changes. Integrated change control, like the word says, integrated. You have a change somewhere. Always know that decision you make in one place does not only affect that place. Yeah. Does not only affect that place. A man who wants to make his wife happy has already succeeded in making his children happy. Sorry about that, but that's what I believe. So that's how project behaves. A wife who wants to make the husband angry had already destroyed the family happiness. These are how project behaves too. So you must, before you take that step, you must understand your changes and how they will influence other things too, for you to make your decision. But for you to carry out the perform integrated change control system, you need the project management plan. So this becomes the baby of the CCB, the change control board. This is their baby. This is where they are seated. They are part of senior management. They are part of the project governance. They're big boys. When we say big boys, the project sponsors are there. Even you, some days, the project manager too could be part of the team. Yeah. Just like big boys that are frying eggs, eating, sandwiching them in bread, and just enjoying around the project side, and then analyzing some changes and following the procedures. So what are the procedures? Now let's take a look at it. So what do you need for project to perform integrated change control? You need the project management plan. We don't do things outside the project management plan. You need the project management plan because every plan or every policies, every procedure is poured into it. What we must do, we will do what is poured into it. Resource management plan is there. Responsibility assignment matrix is there. So you carry out the project management plan and you look at all the project documents. You look at the work performance reports that have been submitted. What are they doing? Are they doing well? You look at the change requests that have been raised. You take a look at the justifications. That is, a change request comes sometimes with a business case, yeah. Because somebody wants you to change something. If it's an hotel that you're building and they said, okay, instead of 10-story building, change it to 5-story building, you must want to know why. And now the person now start demonstrating. Why? Because if we change it like this, we will have $3 million at the end of the year. If we change it, people in this area don't like to climb heights. If we raise it too much, people will not be coming to that level, just like that. Then the enterprise environmental factors. You don't want to change things that is against the law. So you want the standard that is approved, that is acceptable. The government standard and the industry standard. That's why you need the enterprise environmental factors, because you don't want to now start changing things, approving changes that at the end of the day they will use in coming to seal your project, or the people will use in rejecting your product at the end of the day. So you, the project manager, the boys that are using nail and hammer and be hitting things will be thinking you're not doing anything, whereas you are the reason why the project will succeed, because you have just analyzed the industrial standard and the government standard to say, okay, in this area, the government does not want people to raise a building more than 10 stories. You see, in some airports, communities around airport, they have disbanded high-rising buildings. I don't know if it is like that everywhere around the world, but where I am, it's like that. So if you don't have this knowledge, what would you do? You go and build one particular thing, and then at the end of the day, you cannot even scatter it, and the government will not even let you use it. You have thrown away money, and they're going to arrest you because there's a project charter they use in contracting you. So expert judgment becomes our tools and technique. We're not going to be working this in isolation. We'll be talking to people. If it is airport we are building, we'll be talking to aviation experts, we'll be talking to pilots, we'll be talking to people who have been constructing runways, like that. Then we look for some change control tools. We analyze data, we make decisions, and then at the end of the day, it's either we are approving changes or we are rejecting changes. If we approve or we reject, our project management plan will be updated. If we approve changes or we reject the changes, our project document will be updated because there is a rejected change request. That's a document, a letter, a paper that has been rejected. So that rejected paper must be archived. Not because you see it is being rejected, you throw it away. No, you archive it so the system would know that somebody has said this before. Somebody wanted us to incorporate this, but we have said no to this. So they will not bring it back another time through the back door because some smart employees can get that done. So at the end of the day, we close the project. And how do we close project? How do we close project? Or first of all, how do we close project and phase? That is the process of finalizing all activities across all the project management process groups to formally complete the project or phase. I said it's not like closing door, or it's not like dropping your tools and walking away. When closing the project manager will review all prior information from the previous phase. That's the previous phase closure, to ensure that all the project work is complete and that the project has met its objectives, since the project scope is measured against the project management plan. You see? So the project manager will review that document and ensuring that what has been created is in line with what should be created. First of all, the project manager will do that before allowing the client to come. That list that the client will use in approving the project, or that the client will use in accepting the project, the project manager and his team will use it and say, okay, is there so and so stuff on it? Yes. Is there the ticket? Anything that is not there, they go and fix it before they call the owners to come for handover. So that which will be done to you, you do it to yourself. So these are two formal ways you can create you can close a project. So what are the things you need? You need to go back to your first baby created, which is the project charter. Because over time, things could have changed, you wouldn't know. So you want to see where things started from. Where they both agree they will marry. You want to come and hear now. If they have deviated, you now move from that memorandum of understanding into the project charter. The project charter, you move down to the project management plan. Yes, and things. No, the scope they had in the project charter is different from the scope that is here in the project management plan. Why? Oh, because of so and so change was requested and so change was approved. Oh, that's when they incorporated it and changed it. Okay, beautiful. Let's move on. And then you're now following the line. From cradle to cradle, you move down to all the project documents. You want to ensure that everything has been documented. And then you get into what is called the acceptance, accepted deliverables. Every deliverable created, you don't wait till the very last day for them to be accepted. As they are creating it and they are moving forward, you bring in the owners to come and be looking at, is it what you want us to do? Yes, they take it, they accept it before you move on. Because if you have gone 5 steps ahead and the previous steps are not accepted, what do you think you have done? When they will say no, you have to now start cutting about all of those out. So that's why it's always good to carry them along as you advance. Then you go back to the business document. In that business document, the business case is there, where the identified business need was found, and the justification and the strategy of realizing that commercial value could have been stated there. So you want to ensure that this hotel, what we say we will build, will this still, is it that same hotel that we feel will give us 50 customers in a day? That is where the business documents are coming in and all the agreements. Then at the end of the day, you update all your documents, and the final product or services that have been created will be either accepted or rejected. And also the procurement documents are needed. Remember, you have been buying doors, ACs, toiletries. You want to ensure that you have all, because you must show receipts. You must show agreement for everything bought. Formally, they don't do without receipts on project. So this brings us to the end